Hello, everyone, and I hope the live stream is working. If it is, welcome to the live Maven Q&A session this morning with Shanelle Clapham from Parachute Digital. Shanelle, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Cool. I'm just going to play about with the settings here and check that we have the live stream is working. Because they have changed some of the settings here. So Chanel, introduce yourself to us and for the people in our audience that might not know who you are.
Sure. So my name is Shanelle Newton Clapham. Newton's my maiden name. I refuse to drop it because I do not identify as a Clapham. The Claphams are very stubborn. They're very quiet and, passive. And I am not. So, and my family is dynamic and loud and opinionated. So I'm like, I am a Newton. That was not part of my professional job description. So I started my career wanting to be a journalist, and I've got into marketing using my writing skills because I learnt as a 23-year-old that I would have to pay my dues and wait maybe 15, 20 years to be an investigative journalist. I wasn't going to be able to do that straight away. And I was doing like reviews of, I did a pregnancy massage review, and I was just doing crap that I didn't consider journalism. So I got into marketing to use my writing skills and was pretty happy there actually. And then just got an opportunity to do digital and put my hand up. They were just like, oh, we need to redo the website. Who wants to do that? And I was like, I'll do that. And I went away and did a 12-week digital marketing course every one night a week. And my boss would just sit me down the next day and go, right, what did you learn and how are you going to implement it? And I just sort of learnt by doing. And because I was sort of on my own and running my own race, I, got to kind of learn really quickly, and I had a really supportive boss. So that was about 2005, maybe 2004. I've been in digital. So 20 years now. Oh my God, I'm so old. And so I worked in digital for a few years in the corporate sector, in retail and in media. And then I went overseas for a year, and I taught English. We learned how to teach English, and I was living in Honduras teaching English. I was working in a resort doing search engine optimization in the day, and at night I was teaching English. And I started with 6 people in my class, and when I left at the end of the year, I had 30, and it was everything from 6-year-old kids through to 50-year-old men that just wanted to learn. And I had to get my husband and a couple of other people to help me. And when I left, they gave me pot plants and things and wrote me these beautiful little letters about how I changed their life by teaching them English. And I was I'd never had such an amazing feeling. I've got goosebumps just talking about it because I don't think about it that often. Yeah. And that wasn't what I was expecting to talk about this morning. I've just
No, that's all good. I am convinced we have this studio. We have people in our audience. I just want to remind you all, Chanelle is here to answer your questions live. Yeah.
Rather than tell you my life story.
And you know how much I love taking a live call. You will see a green phone button. Press that and we will bring you straight into the studio. You'll pop up and you can ask Chanelle the question yourself. Don't be afraid. Call in because I do get a little bit excited. Yeah. If you don't want to call in and be on camera, please put your questions in the chat and I will ask Chanelle for them. Chanelle, I'm going to go straight in with one of the ones everyone wants to ask. You're an agency, digital agency. You've been around for a long time. You saw the future of fundraising digital. Why do people consider the agency side of fundraising the dark side?
Well, no one said it to my face. I don't know if they do. I think that they think that we're not as pure, perhaps. We're not working on the cause. But I can tell you that of the 17 people in my team, 11 of them have worked at client side, like have
Yeah.
worked in a charity. Most of them, most of their career in a charity, all the consultants have, this is their first agency job. It was my first, oh no, this is my second agency job. But I think most of the people in my team, when they come from charity to work, is more to work on agency side is about the pace of work, like wanting to spread their skills. They're like, I've been working on this one organization, like this one cause I'd really like. I'm passionate about X cause. Like Dan had been working at Peter Mac for 5 years, I think. And he was just like, I'm really into Indigenous stuff. I'm really quite a feminist into
Yeah.
women's rights. I'd really like to use my skills on other things. And people have a curiosity to know if the experience that they've had is the same with other organisations. I think if I'm making assumptions, or from my perspective, I think agencies are expensive.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there can be that feeling of like, you say you want to do good, but you're so bloody expensive. Like, that's not helping. But
And why, Chanel, that's a good one. Why are they so expensive? And is that because of the huge skill set they have within their team?
I think some of it is like, I think I pay my team above the average charity. Like most digital people now since COVID are on like 120,000 dollars.
Yeah.
Like that's just what you have to pay to even attract someone to look at your job ads. We do have expertise that in a charity, a lot of organisations, medium or smaller organisations, just won't have. They don't have a production person. They've just got
Yeah.
content people doing production, or they've got marketers using Canva. They don't have a designer. So we do have specialisations. But I think a lot of the reason why agencies are expensive is the the level of professionalism or the level of due diligence and detail that you go into.
Yeah.
Like if you're working, and I think about what I do for my business, I just whack up a post and I post it. Like,
Yeah.
but we have to do the research, know who the audience is, plan it out, get the plan approved, write the copy, go through 2 or 3 rounds of approval on the
Yes.
copy and the imagery, get a designer to add, like get a video made, and then we post it. Then we but there's a whole lot more planning that goes into it than when you do it yourself. You would kind of wing it, or
Yeah.
charities will plan it out, but it'll be a briefer plan. It'll be a simpler plan. It won't have as much testing. It won't have as much complexity. And it's simply because we have to, I guess, justify why you would use us instead of doing it yourself.
Yeah.
So
And do
it
you
has to
find,
be at a higher
yeah,
level.
and looking back on that, do you find that some organisations could make their agency more efficient for them if they let go of some of the internal structures, like you talk about, who has who has the autonomy or the decision making process to say, yeah, that's fine, sign it off. Is there a bit of a kind of
I don't think that would make it any cheaper. It would make it faster.
faster? Yeah.
So, like, we estimate at the beginning and live by the estimate. So, and we say 2 rounds of changes, but I've got plenty of things that have gone into like where we have to say, come on, guys, you've approved this twice and now you're changing it. We're up to version 11. This is getting ridiculous, because it's always just a new person sees it and is like, oh, can I make that one change? So
Yeah.
I think that adds to their internal process. It does, and it adds to the time it takes to get something live. But generally, like when we're talking to organizations, it'll like some of the key questions are, do you want to do this the right way?
Yeah.
Which is all the planning, all the justification, all the research, all of the rationale and strategy done to the nth degree. Everything planned out before it goes live, everything in place before it goes live. Or do you have a quick and dirty, minimum viable product kind of approach where you're happy to get stuff up, see what's working, optimize and iterate based on what's working.
Yeah.
A lot of it is trust, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like for organizations that we've got long relationships with, or a person like a fundraising manager that may have worked with me or Mumta or Tanya or Dan over 4 or 5 projects or over 3 organizations over the years, there's a lot more trust and things tend to move quicker. Sometimes it's simply a really big investment for an organization. And so they feel like they need to double down and all the checks and balances, and they need to challenge and make sure that they get it perfect
Yeah.
because it's a big investment for them. It's a big risk and they want it to be right. Unfortunately, like marketers and fundraisers, we all have our opinions on things. And sometimes we got to go in with, generally, we'll go in with a testing approach where it's like, let's come up with 3 concepts, let's test 3 concepts
Yeah.
and go with the one that is working best with the audience, which is often not our preferred one or the client's preferred one, but it's the one that the audience, that the supporters have chosen.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, I know you're passionate about, the digital space is, you've been around for a long time.
12
And
years.
yeah, um, we all have our opinions. As Isabel has said, we love that. We all have our opinions. We certainly do. And I think I'm guessing too, I have not been on the agency side, working with clients, but I think I'm guessing it's like everything we do, the stronger the relationship you have with your agency, the kind of bigger impact you can have together. Would that be true?
I think so, but I mean, one of the things that I get told about us compared to other agencies is we're really generous, and it's one of our values to be generous, to give our information away freely, to not gatekeep anything. Because most of the time I can tell you how to do it, but you can't do it yourself anyway, or
Yeah,
you don't know where to start or anything. So I don't see any reason not to give you all the information. But it's kind of started from me in that I'm not a good time manager. I'm not a great project manager. I'm great at momentum and getting things off the ground and getting people energized and up and educating people on an idea. But I'm not great at managing the timeline and
yeah,
managing the budget and stuff like that. So I tend to over deliver. And so that's kind of become our culture of over delivery. So we'll estimate 5 days to do something and we'll spend 8 days doing
yeah,
it. Um, but I think, again, that's something that people appreciate about us, and they don't just go, oh, sorry, we've only got a half an hour meeting, goodbye, and cut
yeah,
it off. Or, sorry, we only estimated 2 days for this. I'm sorry. We all agree that we should do this other thing, but if you don't want to pay for it, then let's just move on.
yeah,
We'll always want to do the best job, get the best result, get the best outcome. And we often have better ideas later on that didn't come in the strategy part, or you're seeing what's working and you want to pivot and take advantage of it,
yeah,
or you want to be reactive. So, but the relationship is about probably more about the concepting and the strategy and testing things that you don't have evidence for.
yeah,
Um, that doesn't happen very often until you've got a good relationship, until they've seen a couple of times, okay, we tested this thing, they hadn't done it before. No, we didn't have any evidence that it would work, like as
yeah,
well as Facebook. But the better trust you have, the more they'll let you try something a little edgy or try a new channel that we don't know what the return on investment will be. I see it a lot with telephone agencies,
yeah,
and I think in lead generation with digital agencies, the trust and the partnership is probably important because you really do have peaks and troughs like this, just where you've got 2 callers on something and it's going really well, and then one caller, there's not enough lead volume, so one caller is dropped off and the results plummet, and then you have to try and get more leads, but then the lead quality is not good because you're just trying to get leads in rather than getting the
yeah,
right quality. So you do kind of have to understand how how telemarketing works or how digital lead gen works, and you can't always have shitloads of good
Yeah.
leads. If you want shitloads, then you have to kind of have some in there that are just okay leads.
Yeah,
But if you
absolutely.
want quality, there's not always enough for the telephone. So it is kind of working with your partners and understanding how it works. Like, to have something going, if you've just got one person on their own, it's a lot harder
Yes,
to
yeah.
have competition, to get momentum, to have a bit of rivalry, to have someone to high five when you do
Yeah,
well. So I think the partnership matters, but probably on the bigger scale or on the kind of higher risk things more so, because at the beginning you're earning your stripes, you're earning their trust,
yeah, absolutely.
and that's okay.
Just a reminder again, do you have any questions you want to ask Shanelle? Anything about leadership,
Yeah,
digital,
hit me.
life as a
I won't.
fundraiser? Call in the studio now. Press that green button and ask Shanelle your questions. Shanelle, what is the biggest mistake that fundraisers, organisations are making in the digital space at the moment?
Tracking and reporting, probably, like just doing a lot of advertising and not actually tracking it well, like seeing the donations but not knowing where they came from really, or which creative is delivering the donations. Having a bit of a set and forget approach with appeals, with donation pages and stuff, kind of going, oh, the first few emails didn't do very well. But not changing the landing page, not tweaking the dollar handles, not changing the header image, just kind of sticking with it because that's what
Yeah,
was set up at the beginning. And some of that's just going to be capacity.
yeah,
Some of it's not knowing what to change, perhaps. But yeah, I think we see a lot of just no tracking in place, or the tracking is so simplistic that, but if they can set up the tracking and even
yeah.
have simplistic tracking, then they can add like, which email did it come from, or which ad did it come from? What other stuff? I think a lot of it is also just very much maybe risk aversion or lack of creativity, or just doing what everybody else is doing and not sort of trying anything different, where they just want to do Facebook advertising
Yeah,
and they're just fishing in the same pond as everybody else. There's a lot of risk aversion of just not wanting to do something unless you can absolutely prove what you're going to get.
yeah.
But every organization is different, every brand, every creative, every case study, but they kind of want the same results, but they don't have the same criteria.
Absolutely. And what is the fastest growing, I guess, area in fundraising when we're talking about regular giving? We talk about, bequests, major gifts. What is the fastest growing kind of speciality in fundraising digital?
I'd never done a gift in will campaign until maybe 2 years ago, and I think we've done 4 or 5 a year.
Yeah,
So I think with the aging population and the baby boomers getting older, and this talk about this transfer of wealth and stuff, I think organisations in general are investing in gift in wills more. And I think that's an excellent strategy, but they're actually kind of acknowledging that older people are online as well. And, we're seeing quite good results in terms of conversations and much quicker conversion to a confirmed bequester than is traditionally expected. And it's just because online they're reading, they're seeking things out themselves, especially if they come via search or via the website organically. They're looking for you, so you've got a very qualified lead.
I
Obviously,
mean,
peer
there
to
is
peer
no,
is,
the future of all fundraising surely has to have a digital footprint of some kind. There is no part of fundraising that can't be part of a digital
yeah.
process. Isabel has got a question. If you were going to suggest one radical change to a charity's fundraising programme, what would that be?
One radical change.
That's a tough one, Isabel.
Radical. I think this will be controversial because it's not radical in it's traditional, but investing in brand awareness and not brand awareness, in cause awareness, in awareness of the issues as part of a direct response fundraising campaign, investing a percentage of your budget, of your creative, into explaining the cause and the problem, and getting your organization out there, because the organizations with brand awareness, the conversion rate is a lot easier. And I think when we just talked about legacies and gifts in will and bequests, 50% of bequests come from people the organization doesn't have on their database and never knew about. So they had a relationship with your organizational brand that you weren't aware of. And mostly that's come from experiencing it or seeing it or something like that. So I think of organizations, and it's not brand awareness for the sake of it, it's cause awareness, but your brand is then, so it's whether you're about women's rights or you're about climate change or you're about refugees or you're about heart health. It's just people understanding what the biggest issues are and seeing Victor Chang associated with heart health or ASRC associated with refugees, and it will make the job
Makes total sense.
conversion and retention easier.
If you've
So we're doing a lot of advocating on that, and we're just, the digital space, like Facebook's taken away heaps of our targeting opportunities. Cookies are going to be taken away. So the things that made digital so targeted and so focused and have no wastage are being taken away. So we're also having to go back to that traditional funnel marketing where you need to build awareness, engage with people, and then convert them. And we're seeing that we've still got the same budget, but if we take 15% of it and put it into awareness, the other 85% is still getting the same amount of leads we would have got from the whole 100%, but we're getting some other benefits of just building reach and frequency, building a bit of awareness of whatever the problem is that the fundraising case for support is going to ask for money for.
I think that's so true. A lot of times wasted on trying to highlight how brilliant you are at whatever your cause is. But the thing is, your donors know what your cause represents. It's about what they want, especially in legacies. What legacy do they want to impact when they are no longer here? And you're right. If it's cancer or environment or animals, they're going to choose the one that's at the forefront of their mind or their life, which is through awareness. Nicole has just asked us, Shanelle, well, where would you suggest a small NFP with limited resources and budget start with digital fundraising?
So digital fundraising, you're going to live or die by your database. So building your database of leads, of subscribers is the first thing, but it's a long game. It's not just going to happen like that. You've got to build the relationship. You've got to, build trust and credibility and convert them. So that's kind of lead gen and acquisition, which can be expensive. But for a small organization, I would say search. Like every organization has the Google grant, can get the Google grant. And I know it probably feels like rocket science, but it's not. It's just knowing what to do. And once it's set up, it's just looking at it for 5 minutes every couple of days and kind of noticing what's changing or what's not and making little tweaks. But people that are looking for you in search, well, they're not always looking for you, but they're looking for what you have. They're looking for the programs that you offer. They're looking, and this will service the whole organization, not just fundraising. But if they're looking to give a donation, if they're looking to fundraise for someone, if they're looking for information about bowel cancer, about breast cancer, about the refugee offshore detention, if they're looking for like what's the International Women's Day theme this year, like they're looking for something and you have that information and bringing them to your website. And then once they're there, give them a next logical step. So the easiest thing is for Nicole, if you're listening, if you have access to Google Analytics, or even if you don't, but one of your colleagues do, ask them to spit you out a report of what are the top 20 landing pages, not just pages, landing pages, which just means the first page that people arrive on when they come to your website. And it's an option you can choose, like all pages or landing pages. What are the top 10, 20 landing pages on your website? And it'll be like your jobs page, your home page, the about page will definitely be in there. But there's always a few things that surprise you. Like when we were doing lead gen for the Royal Flying Doctors like 5+ years ago, one of the top page, the second top page on their website for like the last 2 years was about snake bites. And so we built the snake bite safety quiz as a
Brilliant.
lead generator off the insight that people were looking for information about snake bite and coming to the Royal Flying Doctors for that. So, but you'll find kind of these really interesting things and you kind of go, like, it's not going to make sense to have a donate call to action on the contact us page because that could be for services, that could be for something else. But look at those top 20 pages and go and see, is there a next logical step for them to take? Do you ask them to give their details? Do you put a download there? Do you link? So if one of the pages, so when I was at WWF, so when the bushfires happened in 2019, 2020, that Christmas a few years ago, WWF, 25% of the traffic to their website came into their what is global warming page. And that was SEO, search engine optimization work that we'd done 10 years before in building up that credibility. But when people were just going, what the hell is happening in our world? They found WWF, there was a donate call to action, and they got like 60% of that, all that money that came into Wires, WWF, the Smith family, the Salvos, and the New South Wales and Victorian Fire Service was people just going, how can I help? I just need to do something. They all came from search. They came from people and they arrive on a page and it's got to be like, what can I do? What is the next thing for me to
What a
do?
brilliant example, that one you just gave about the snake bites. I mean, that is the that's the kind of science, decision-based science that we know exists, why people make decisions and why they're going to, do what you're asking them to do. Nicole, I hope that's given you some ideas. I think that really great insights there. I Have we got any more questions from the audience? Please do call in. I know you're out
Come
there. I
on,
can see
call.
you
I'm
all
not
in
that
the audience. So
scary.
do call in and ask Shanelle some of your questions. They are really good points. We will share the Google Ads if you don't have the Google Ads. Another point but I'm looking for fundraisers for a different reason to, educate them and share the knowledge and experience like we're doing right now. And one of the things I notice is, and it goes back to Ken Burnett's relationship fundraising book. Actually, it's the second one. It's about how to action relationship fundraising. And one of the things it talks about is be known, be consistent. And the be known thing is so important. The amount of times I jump on a website and there is no face, there's no names, there's nothing to the fundraising development team. And there might be a general info at email box, but share your people. How can especially with their major donors and bequests and things, there's got to be a face behind the person that's facilitating the donation. And so many charities, they put everything about their board and their governance and their services, but we're a huge part of the organization too. So for me, I would say put your people on your website.
Yeah. Well, certainly in our business, Like I've spent the last few years really trying to build Mumta's profile and Dan's profile and Tanya, because a lot of people know me as Parachute,
Yeah,
but I'm not running most of the projects now. Like I'm the creative director, I do the concepting, but like they're the brains and they've all come from charity more recently than I have. And they're all fabulous. And so it's really important that people start to, because as you talked about trust before, once they've spent time with you or once they've worked with you, they trust you. They don't trust Parachute. They
yeah,
trust Tanya or
yeah,
they trust Dan or they trust, and they, and when the next project comes, we'll be like, oh, we'd really like you guys to help us with our Christmas appeal. Is Dan available? Like,
yeah.
and they want the same person that they've had a really good experience with. And like the KPIs for my team are raving reviews from your clients and colleagues. Like, so we
Yeah,
do customer satisfaction reviews and we do internal feedback. And that's the key measurement is raving reviews from your clients and colleagues. And then the results that you've brought in against your strategy. So you said you would achieve this. Did you achieve it?
absolutely.
But we have all, like every single one of our team are on our website, like not just me and
Yeah,
Mumta and Patricia, like everyone down to the most junior person.
absolutely. And Chanel, you and your team are supporting the Nest Fest Aotearoa in New Zealand in September, and you are going to be delivering a session on bequests,
Gifting
digital
wills, yeah.
bequests. Yes,
Mumta and Vic.
finding your bequesters on social media, which I think there's a real idea that the older generation only like to receive a mail in the post, which they love, but they also are some of the high, they've got a lot of time to on their hands, and they're online way more than people think they are.
Yeah, anyone that's ever done that, anyone that works with disadvantage or aged care or supporting people on a pension, as soon as you put up a campaign about pension poverty or cost of living, the amount of comments that you get of people going, I'm a pensioner and I'm, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Like they're definitely there. And I mean, and it's more so like I did some research a couple of years ago that we put out on 70 plus age donors, because that's often what we get challenged with. Oh, our donors are old, like they're not online. But COVID really changed things.
Yeah,
Like people that would not have given online before started to, because they had to do everything online after COVID.
yeah,
Um, and most of them will still give the way they used to, but they give online as well. And so we did research. So we put out a survey where we just used social media to get people to answer a survey. And we had like 400 people over 70, and we could target over
yeah,
70s only to see the ads. We did like, I think 27 in-depth interviews with older donors over the age of 70. And basically, we found that if you're over 70, you're absolutely online. If anything, they use their phone for everything.
yeah.
It used to be tablets, but because phones are getting bigger, they're just using their phone. But it is when you get to over 80s, that's when they're not comfortable and they're not transacting online in the same way. But over 70, absolutely are giving online.
Absolutely. Chanel, any last thoughts? We're coming up to, the we know coffee break will soon be over for you all. Have you got any final questions for Chanel
Come
before
on,
we
hit me with a
yes,
stinger.
talk in the studio? Give us a phone call and ask questions. Fundraising is tough, Chanel. It really is. There's burnout. We're under pressure because we want to go that extra mile. We're in this space because we all we care about making a difference.
Yeah.
What's your kind of top advice for fundraisers in terms of trying to be empowered and being being a leader at whatever level they're at in an organization? It's super important to me. You inspire up, down, sideways, and how what's your advice to a fundraiser who's struggling to be heard?
Yeah, that's it. If you don't have much power in your organization, formal power or authority, then it is just about apologize later. Just do it. Do what you think will work. Do what your donors are telling you. Do what your gut tells you is the right thing. And then when you get the results, apologize later if there's anything to apologize for. But I think you're doing it, Michelle. I think it's this: surround yourself with other passionate, inspired people. Because if you're a lone fundraiser and it's kind of like, anyone can do your job, like there can be a them and us thing in some organizations. It can be an icky thing that some people are like, oh, I hate fundraising. I hate how you write. And you're like, yeah, we don't particularly like it either. Like, it's a formula that works. But I think surround yourself with other passionate people, whether they're fundraisers or your colleagues in other things, but people that value the contribution that you're making, that inspire you to want to do better for yourself, like just so that you can kind of go, I raised $1 million this year for other people. Like, that is something that you're going to go to your grave feeling good about. But yeah, I think like I try to do that in my personal life, but certainly in my professional life. And like, running a business can be really exhausting and lonely sometimes.
Very.
And so you've got to have other business owners to go and talk to and go, oh my God, I just can't do anything right. Or, I'm upset by something that I can't do for my team, or I just want to give them all pay rises, but I can't afford it. Or, like, you just
no, you're not alone. And know
surround
that you're
yourself
here
by
listening to
people
this.
to support you.
The fact that you guys are in the audience listening to this conversation, that's brilliant. The fact that you just want to hear what other people have got to say, because all of these little bits of knowledge, for me in particular, yes, you can learn the theory and we can have the data and we can have the numbers, all of that's great, but you need your values and how you articulate your case to the people that that want to hear what the change it is that you want to make. So yeah, for me, it's be the inspiration that you want to see in others, and you guys are all the inspiration. So reach out to your peers, jump in and learn and chat and listen where you can to anything, because talking the information, the experience that people I think you've shared some amazing insights today. Like, for me, that's the kind of way my brain works. The idea, that snake one, that will stick with me. If I was a fundraiser right now, I'd be like, right, I am absolutely going to go and find how we can do that. So these nuggets of gold, listen to them, action on them, and go and see what you can do with it. Thank you, Isabel. Our audience are now saying thank you, and we're going to wrap up this chat
You're
now.
welcome.
So I want to thank you all for jumping in and joining us. Shanelle, huge thanks to you as always. You've been a huge support for me personally. Actually, probably one of the biggest over the last few months. And supporting the Nest Fest in New Zealand. We can't wait to have your team there. And I'm going to be in Tassie in a couple of weeks. And
yes,
you too, as the FIA Forum in Tassie, and I am looking forward to going to Tassie and catching up with you in person, Shanelle. So as always, thank you, Shanelle, for joining us, and thank you for everyone for joining us today. And we will see you at the next Q&A with our Mavens. Shanelle, when I stop recording, just stay with me so that we don't lose the recording. Goodbye, everyone. See you next time.
Happy Friday.